New Order. In this movie, a beautiful young woman from a wealthy family gets caught up in riots when she leaves her house to help someone. When the soldiers capture her, they propose to escort her home. It looks like a safe option to have military soldiers protecting her. Surprisingly, the female soldier demands she surrenders her belongings like a mobile phone, watch, and all other accessories. Unexpectedly, the beautiful girl is not taken home but into a military base that looks like a concentration camp. As a matter of registration, the number 16 is written on her forehead. So far, a dozen captives are gathered in a base and kept in a cage-like room. They are the descendants of wealthy class families. While the soldiers torture the men, the women are forced to satisfy the soldiers' desires. The entire base appears to be in a state of anarchy. The soldiers sexually assault the women openly. Not even the beautiful young woman is spared from the shame and torture. Hey guys, welcome to our channel, Mystery Recaps. Today we will recap a 2020 thriller art movie named New Order. To know how the story folds out, keep on watching the video and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. The movie begins with a close-up of an abstract painting by the Mexican artist Omar Rodriguez Graham, and then it shows a series of footages such as a naked lady with green paint dripping down her body, furniture being hurled from a balcony, green water flowing down the stairs, people being dragged along corridors, a green tree with a blood-red trunk, and splashing green paint at the window of a store as a bride is being fitted with her wedding gown. The hospital rushes to clear beds for those seriously injured protesters. Among those displaced from a sick bed is Rolando's wife, Eliza, who needs emergency heart surgery, but the hospital chases her out. The doctor advises Rolando to try the private hospital, which would cost 200,000 pesos. Meanwhile, bodies have been piled up outside, while sounds of continuous gunshots, helicopters flying low across the city, and alarms ringing can be heard in the background. It all indicates that the military forces are deployed to deal with the protesters. Elsewhere, Marion and her soon-to-be husband Alan are kissing at their grand wedding party. As they continue their intimate moment with each other, Marion's brother Daniel comes and interrupts the two. They then enter their luxurious house. The grand party is hosted by Marion's father Ivan, who is a wealthy property developer. Well-dressed elites and businessmen attend the event. Every guest brings along expensive presents and cash gifts. Marion hands all the cash gifts to her mother Rebecca, who then keeps them all in a safe. When Marion's mother heads into the bathroom and finds a faucet running with green water, she becomes anxious. Sometime later, Victor, a high-ranking government official, arrives and Ivan leads his family out to receive him. Both Ivan and Daniel greet Victor and his family. Victor then says to Daniel that the land permit has been approved. Shortly after, a housemaid, Marta, tells Rebecca that Rolando, who worked for the family several years earlier, came to ask for help. When Rebecca goes to see Rolando, he humbly asks her for 200,000 pesos for the treatment of his wife. Rebecca then gives Rolando a sum of 35,000 pesos by collecting it from Ivan and Daniel. She then turns away to take care of the party. At this point in time, Victor mysteriously leaves the wedding party along with his family members. As Rolando prepares to leave, he sees Marion and calls out to her. Marion hugs him with joy and asks for Eliza. After learning that Eliza is sick and needs a sum of money for the surgery, Marion accepts to give money without hesitation. She then approaches Daniel, who threatens Rolando to leave after giving him 5,000 pesos. Marion then tries to open the safe, which holds the wedding cash presents. However, she does not know the password. She approaches her father, her brother, and her soon-to-be husband, but no one is willing to help. Disappointed, Marion decides to give Rolando the required amount using her own card. At this point, Rolando has left the property, so Marion then decides to go to Rolando's house. She asks Christian to tag along. Christian is Marta's son. As soon as they hit the road, they realize the roads are blocked. Marion then takes another path to Rolando's house. Meanwhile, Ivan spots protesters breaking into his property. What do you think will happen next? Pause the video and let us know in the comments section. One of the protesters who holds a gun shoots Ivan. Ivan falls down and Rebecca cries out loud. This leads to chaos and screams across the property. Shockingly, the security guard Felipe shoots at the guests instead of trying to protect the family and the guests. It turns out that the security guards and the protesters are together. While the guests rush to find shelter and save themselves, the maids plunder all kinds of valuable items at the mansion. Meanwhile, Felipe holds Rebecca at gunpoint and forces her to open the safe. When she does exactly that, she is shot dead. Marta is the only faithful maid who does not join in robbing her owner. She quietly calls Christian to tell him not to come back, but before she can say anything, she is knocked down unconscious. The protesters destroy famous paintings hung on the wall. They also kill Daniel's pregnant wife and leaves her bleeding on the stairs. Finally, Marion and Christian have reached Rolando's house. Turns out Rolando, Marta, and Christian stay in the same building. Due to the ongoing riot, Marion stays at Christian's house for the night. The next morning, the military seized control of the mob. Martial law is implemented across the nation. According to the news, the riot has killed a few thousand lives and Marion wants to go back home. When Christian scouts the situation outside, 2 military soldiers capture him. When the soldiers see Marion, they propose to escort her home, but they take her to a military base. At the camp, she is raped and tortured every day. Meanwhile, Daniel and Alan seek Victor's help to find Marion. Victor assures them and then walks away with the military general Uribe. Later, a funeral for Rebecca and her daughter-in-law is held, which Daniel, Alan, and Alan's mother, Pilar, attend. Following the funeral, Ivan is discharged from the hospital. Victor comes to visit Ivan, but they do not exchange any words. Meanwhile, the soldiers take videos of the captives and demand a large ransom for their families. The price for Marion is 10 million pesos, which Daniel reports to Victor and General Uribe. The general then assures to save Marion. Meanwhile, Rolando leaves his house to find a doctor as his wife's health seems to be declining. Unfortunately, he runs into a soldier that guns him down immediately. Rolando's wife also dies without receiving any treatment. Among the captives, the family of number 3 pays the money to free him. The soldiers then take him out of the room. Just when everyone thinks he is finally free, he is killed right after he steps out of the room. The gunfire sends a shiver down the remaining hostages. Now they realize money cannot free them. The female soldier who captures Marion finds out that if Marion is redeemed, she would only get 200,000 pesos. Apparently, she is unsatisfied and she decides to make a fortune by other means. She visits Marta and tells her they could get Marion back at 800,000 pesos. To convince them that she is of power and authority, she gives Marta and Christian 2 travel passes. Marta and Christian immediately head to Ivan's estate and delivers the message to Daniel. To him, 800,000 pesos in exchange for Marion's return is a good deal, so he hands the cash to Marta, hoping that he will get his sister back. When Marta brings the cash to the female soldier, she asks for another 1 million pesos. Since Marta and Christian have no choice, they head back to ask Daniel again. This time, Daniel feels suspicious about Marta and Christian. He then reports the incident to Victor and General Uribe. As a result, the female soldier and her accomplices are arrested at Marta's house. However, Marta is also captured by the police. Later, the military base is cracked down on by the police and Marion is taken to a military van. Meanwhile, the captives and captors are executed one by one. What appears to be a rescue turns out to be a massacre. The military forces then poured gasoline all over their body and lit the bodies on fire. The military forces burned both the captives and captors in an attempt to wipe out all evidence. Do you think Marion will be returned back to her family? Let's watch ahead. Make sure you hit that like button if you're enjoying the video. The military van takes Marion directly into Christian's house. When she steps in, she finds Christian looking at her. The soldiers then take Marion to the bathroom where she is shot dead by the soldier. When Christian hears the gunshot, he startles in fear. The soldier then forces the murder weapon into Christian's hand to frame him. As Christian stands before Marion's body, he appears to be in shock and he is shot right in his head. The military sets up its own story by framing Marta and Christian. At the end of the movie, Ivan attends the execution of Marta along with other politicians. General Uribe is seated in the center position and Victor is next to him. Ivan sits beside Victor wearing an oxygen mask. Marta's face is covered and a rope is put around her neck. At the command of the executioner, Marta is hung dead in an instant. Ivan watches the execution of innocent Marta while the other people responsible sit beside him. It turns out that Victor joined hands with General Uribe to take advantage of the national crisis and stronghold his position. Indeed, a new order in the country is established by sacrificing innocent civilians. Want to know how a government kills students to reduce population? Check out this video on the screen. Also, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to never miss any exciting movie recaps.